Welcome to the 8th episode of the Vintage Kitchen. This week there is not a single grain of sugar to be found anywhere in my recipe, which is quite unusual. I'll be showing you how to make tomato soup from a recipe from 52 Sunday Dinners from 1913.
A boy was walking his bumblebee, he tied it to a string. The sky was lit up with violet light, a bird began to sing a song of sixpence.
These ingredients are enough to serve 6 to 8 people, so if you don't want to feed that many people, halve the amounts. You'll need 8 cups of tomato. You can use tin tomato or fresh tomato. I don't have access to any decent fresh tomatoes at the moment, so I'm using tin. 1 chopped onion. A good handful of parsley. I'm using flat leaf continental parsley. You can use whatever kind you like. A bay leaf. 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. The amount you use depends on your personal taste. 6 tablespoons of soft butter. That's 80 grams or 2½ ounces. 4 tablespoons of plain flour, salt, pepper and cayenne pepper to taste. Now the tablespoons that I'm using in this recipe are the regular 15ml tablespoons. So if you're an Australian and you have a 20ml tablespoon, just adjust the amounts. So let's get cooking. In your saucepan, add the tomatoes. Now I didn't have quite enough tomatoes, so I've bulked that out with a bit of water. The great thing about this recipe is you can adjust it any way you like. Don't have enough tomatoes, add some stock, add some water, whatever you like to bulk it out. So put your tomatoes in the saucepan and add the onion, the parsley. I'm going to keep some of that back for garnish. I like parsley. You might not. Just pull out any of the stalks. You can chop this up first if you're worried about woody stalks. I'm not too worried. I'm going to blend this. So I'm just going to pull out any of the bigger stalks. As you can see, this is rough and ready country cooking. I'm going to add the cloves. If you're not used to seasoning, add 1/4 teaspoon now. Taste it. If you want to add any more later on, you can. Pepper. And the bay leaf. Now we're going to stir this all up and go and simmer it for 20 minutes. That's bubbling away now, and I'm going to let that simmer for 20 minutes. That's been boiling for 20 minutes, and I'm going to take that off the heat now and blend it and then put it back in the saucepan for the next step. As my soup all blended, it's just roughly blended. This is home cooking, not restaurant cooking, so don't worry about it too much. Now I'm going to thicken it with some butter and flour. Start by melting your butter over a very, very low heat. You don't want to burn it. As soon as your butter is melted, add the flour and stir it really well. You want to cook this for 1 minute to get rid of the taste of the raw flour. I'll just show you what this looks like. So give it a really good stir. It's important to cook out that taste of the raw flour because it's really not a pleasant flavour to have in your soup. 1 minute should be plenty of time. Once that is cooked for 1 minute, add a few ladles full of the soup in. so that it's thin enough to pour, and give it a good stir. Then pour the flour, butter and soup mix into your pot of soup. Now you don't have to thicken your soup if you don't want to, but make sure you put the butter in there at least, because it really affects the flavour. Now put your soup back on over the heat and give it a good stir until it's as thick as you want it. Before you blended the soup, you needed to take out the bay leaf as well. You don't want bits of bay leaf all blended in there. You can thicken your soup with cream if you prefer, or mashed potato. Now to finish off, add cayenne pepper, salt and pepper, and nutmeg to taste. Give that a good stir, and do give it a taste, because you can adjust it as much as you like. Now I'm just going to dish some of this up and tell you about some of the different options for serving. Here's my lovely finished soup. I'm just going to dish up a little bit because we're having this for dinner later on. You can serve it with a little dollop of sour cream and a sprinkle of chopped parsley. You could also put a dob of butter and grate some Parmesan cheese over the top. Completely up to you. Now I'm going to give this another taste because it's so good, while I steam up my camera.
Hey cat with a fiddle